Here we are, back in the trenches of online dating. I'm doing it. I've been on the site for a week now. So I'm here to tell you how it's going. Um, Lots to talk about, lots to say, actually. It's pretty much going how it always goes. Like nothing is surprising. I have not encountered anything crazy yet. It's a lot of the same stuff. It's a lot of people searching for their partner in crime. A lot of people who don't want drama. A lot of people holding dead fish. Same as usual, par for the course. The last time I online dated though, this is surprising to me. It was actually like end of 2021, very beginning of 2022. I just went on like I think like two dates, right in between like Pete and Ian, um, but that was what 3 years ago. So it's been a while for me. And then prior to that, like every once in a while, when Pete and I were in the off phase of our on and off 7 year relationship, I would maybe go on a couple dates here and there. But the last time I really did it was 2013 and some of 2014 before I met Pete, who I met on the site. But during 2013, I went on a lot of online dates. And what's different now that I don't really like as much is the swiping. I'm not a fan of the swiping apps. In 2013, I was on Match.com because Tinder wasn't even a thing yet. And it wasn't a swiping thing. It was more just like you wrote a profile about yourself and you put some pictures on there and then you could just search other people's profiles by things like location. You could search by like height, religion, political stance, whatever you wanted. But there was no like swiping no. I don't like the finality of the swipe. I am an indecisive person. And so sometimes I'm just like, I don't know if I want to swipe left or right on this person. Like I feel like I should swipe left. I'm not really seeing anything that I would connect with this person. But then like I'll never know. Like for example, when I was on Match, because it wasn't like that, it was more just like you could search and you could message somebody or you just didn't, but it didn't stop them from like finding you later, right? There were some people that I saw their profile initially and then I didn't like message them. Nick was one of those people. I had seen his profile, but I was like, I don't know. He lives 2 hours away. Like, I don't know that we have that much in common, whatever, right? So I didn't write him. But then, like, a week later, he messaged me, like, a really thoughtful, nice email. And then I ended up falling in love with him. So, had it been a swiping app, I would have just swiped left probably and then never would have heard from him because he never would have seen me. And so sometimes I just wish there was an option that was like, I don't know, maybe, like, instead of yes or no, I just swipe maybe, or like show me this one again later, that kind of thing. What I have been doing is if I'm not sure, I'll swipe right, but then I won't message them. I'll just, now they're able to message me if they want to, but like I'm putting most of my effort into, and I am messaging some people first. Some people say women don't message first. I do. If I have something to say, like if I think it's a really good match. A few of the people I've messaged never wrote me back, but I have a few conversations and I've already been on a date. So I am going to tell you about that. In fact, I got on the app a week ago on the 15th. It was a Friday. I had the day off and I went on a date on Saturday. So how it goes is, I said I was going to do it now. I really wasn't sure I wanted to. The political climate is crazy, but the weather's good. This is the weather that I like to be out and about. It's like 45 degrees. But if it's sunny and stuff, like I like that. Like let me put on a coat and some cute boots and like I don't like the heat. I hate the heat. So in the summer I like to hibernate in the air conditioning. And then when it gets too far into the winter, then it's snowing and it's disgusting and you can't drive anywhere and the weather's bad. So like this is when I want to be out doing things. And I told myself I was going to do this in November. And even though I'm not at my weight loss goal, I am feeling I wanted to be 50 pounds down before I started online dating again. I'm 40 pounds down, but I am starting to feel better in my body and more like myself again. So, I'm not quite there, but like, it's better. So anyway, I was still on the fence because I was just like, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I can do this. But then Friday I was supposed to have lunch with my sister and she canceled on me for like the fourth time in a row, which is a whole nother tangent. But basically like, she won't give me like dinner or an evening, I think, because that takes away time from being with her baby daddy, or she just doesn't want him to know about it because he and I don't get along, whatever it is. I don't know. She's always trying to do lunch. But it's hard for me because I do work, and although I work from home sometimes, then I'm on like an hour schedule. Like it's this whole thing, but she just keeps canceling. So whatever. Point is, I had that day off and I had nothing to do the whole weekend last weekend. I had nothing. And I was quite bored. And I was like, I really would like to be going out and like have something to do. And basically I was just like, I would like to have a date tonight. Even if it's with a guy that like, it doesn't even go that well, as long as it doesn't go horrible. Like I just wanted to get out of the house and I was like, okay, it's time. This means it's time. So I decided to start with Facebook dating because it feels like just dipping my toe into the water a little bit. I didn't have to download a new app or re-download, I should say, like Bumble or Hinge. I've done those before, but this is like, it already has all my information from the last time I did Facebook dating. I just have to like turn it on. Although I did take new pictures and I did write a new bio, which this is the other thing that I preferred about like the old days of Match.com over this swipe culture, is that it constricts you, Facebook dating and all the sites now, to just such a little space. You can write like this much about yourself and that's it. Because people are just going more on looks and on pictures. Whereas one way that I could filter guys on like Match was whether or not I could tell if they read my profile or not, because I'm a writer. And so I will admit, my profile was probably a little ridiculous to a lot of people. I wrote like a 5-paragraph essay about myself and what I was looking for. I mean, I have no problem expressing myself in writing. That's how I express myself best. And so I would have like a pretty long profile all about all the things I'm into and all the things I'm looking for. And most guys did not read that profile, and they would just message me and be like, hey, sup beautiful, what up gorgeous, stuff like that. But then every once in a while I would get a message from a guy. And I don't mean to like say anything negative about guys who are complimenting my looks. It's just not the opener that I'm looking for, I guess, because I don't know. I've never had a conversation that started with like, you're gorgeous, that like went anywhere. Now, there are women that is exactly what they're looking for. My sister's probably one of them. They just want to be complimented on their looks, whatever. But what I'm looking for is, an intellectual conversation, a cerebral type man who's going to read the profile, pay attention, and write me a thoughtful message. And I would get that every once in a while. I'd get someone who wrote me like Nick wrote me a really good message. Someone who would write me and be like, I like that band too. I saw that band in 19 whatever, blah, blah, blah. Wow. That just dates me right there that I started the year with 19. Or they'd be like, hey, what are your dogs' names? Or just something specific. They would just pull something specific out of what I'd written to let me know that they read it. Those were the people I was looking for. One of the people I matched with back then was this guy from Ohio. I ended up calling him like my pen pal. I was in love with him, but he friend zoned me when we eventually did meet up. But for a while, when we started talking, we would just write each other novels. I swear, we would write the longest emails back and forth to each other. And I remember he told me I wrote like Jack Kerouac, which my heart be still. But we just like wrote each other essays, and I loved it. It was great. My preferred form of communication, I guess. I should live in like the, 1800s when you would just write love letters by mail to each other, I guess. But those guys then that actually read the profile stood out, and I knew those were the type of people that I was looking to get to know. So now you don't really have that opportunity because you can write so little about yourself. So I had written a couple paragraphs, I thought it was short enough. It was just about me and what I'm looking for. 2 little paragraphs. And still when I pasted it into Facebook dating, I had to cut it like in half. But then they give you all these prompts to answer. Like you can answer like, my 3 favorite foods are, or if I was stuck on a desert island, I could only have one thing, it would be, and I get that, I guess for a lot of people who aren't writers, they can't write about themselves. They don't know what to put in the bio, but they can answer a question. So I understand that like for 95% of the population, that type of profile works better, but I wish I at least had the option to do the bio instead. Like, I don't know, because I'm like, I don't want to have to sit here and convert what I wrote into answers to prescribed questions. But anyway, I finally got the profile up. Now, here's the thing. I am not looking for quantity. I think in 2013 I was a little bit more looking for quantity. I kind of had this idea that like you got to kiss a lot of frogs, right? Like the more people that I go out with, the higher chance that one of them will work out. Now though, it's totally different. Now I am writing my profile in a way so that I know most men probably will swipe left on me if they read it. But that's what I want. I am looking to attract a select few. I'm not trying to go on a million dates. I'm not trying to waste my makeup and my time and my money on these things. I just want to attract a very specific type of man. I listened to a podcast the other day that I really liked. It was on the New York Times, the Daily feed, but it's not an episode of the Daily. On Sundays, they will just post like articles read by Audible, like the Sunday Story, they call it. This would have been not this weekend or the past. It would have been like the November 10th episode, I think, if you want to listen to it. It's called Dating Over 50 or something like that. And it was about dating over 50. I am not over 50. I am 42. But I resonated, like a lot of this podcast resonated with me. They interviewed women over 50 about online dating. And basically what the women were saying was that they, just like what I'm saying, they're not trying to attract us to anybody. They're not interested in making a dating profile that's going to attract the most men. They are because they're fine being alone. They're okay. They can be picky because they're independent. They have friends. They have family. They have community. They are maybe interested in dating someone, but only if that person adds to their life. They're not just looking for just anyone. They're looking for quality, not quantity. And then they interviewed men over 50, and these poor men were like, I don't care if she's fat. I don't care if she has 12 kids. I'll support her kids. Like, I just don't want to be alone. I just want someone. I just please don't want to be alone. And I think it is, that lines up, right? It lines up with everything that we know in these studies that have been done that show the happiest people in old age are single women, followed by married men, followed by married women, and the unhappiest being unmarried men. The tables turn. In our 20s, women are always trying to like lock down a man. And a lot of that is because of the biological clock. And if you want to have kids and stuff, you need to find a good man. You need to get him, hook him in, have those babies. And men in their 20s are more like, they want to be bachelors. It's cool. And then as soon as you get like past 40, really you get past childbearing age. Now all of a sudden the women are like, you know what? I'm fine on my own. I don't like, I might want a man around, but again, only if it's enriching my life, right? And then the men, all of a sudden, again, the tables turn. Men don't want to be single anymore when they're in old age. And I think the freedom of just not being on any timeline really changes dating. And I've never wanted children, so that's never been a factor for me. But still, there's still like a mental shift now in just being like, I'm good. Like, I'm good. So yeah, I would love to find someone to date who adds to my life. I would love to find someone to go out of town on the weekends and do fun stuff with, or just talk to about my day, whatever it is, all the benefits of being in a relationship. But because I'm also like, I'm fine on my own, like I can be picky. So that's why on my profile, I have made my politics very clear. Because I guess if I'm talking about priorities, I would like to date someone without kids, but I'm open to it. If I meet a great guy and he has kids, like, I'd give it another shot. And a lot of it depends on how old the kids are now and that kind of thing. I'd like to date a guy who's taller than me, but I'm open to dating a guy who's shorter. I've had a bad experience dating shorter guys because they don't like it. Not because I don't like it. They don't like it. It emasculates some men to date a taller woman. And I would like to date someone who's local just because it's a lot easier. And I've never had a successful time dating a guy who lived more than like 30 minutes away because it's just really hard to just like get together and stuff. I dated a guy for 4 months who lived an hour away. I only saw him on the weekends and we never got that close because of it. And he was a cool guy, but like, it was just a lot easier. Like when I met Pete and we could just spur of the moment be like, you want to grab a drink after work? Okay. Like just because he was here. And obviously I think like the number one thing is like you want to date like a good person, right? Like a decent person, not a murderer, right? But after that, honestly, for me, dating someone who's on the same like side of the political spectrum as me is probably my other deal breaker. None of those other things are deal breakers, but that is a deal breaker. I just can't date someone who's got different politics because it just says so much about how they see the world, and we just don't see it the same, and that's just not going to work for me, you know? So, like I said, I got on the app last Friday, and that night some guy messaged me and he said something about the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight, and it was kind of wild because I was actually watching it because I was home alone, bored with nothing to do, and like everyone in the world was watching it. First time I've ever watched boxing in my life. But I had it on and he messaged me about it. So we started talking. We talked for like an hour just on the app. And then the next day he had left me his phone number. So I texted him and I was just feeling bold and mostly just bored. And I was like, hey, I know it's last minute, but like, would you want to grab a drink tonight? And he was like, sure, you know, I was going to go to the movies, but that sounds more fun. And I was like, let's meet here. And I picked the place that was in the middle of where we lived. I had to drive a little further, but that was just how it worked out. And so we met up. Now, this guy, he lives like at least an hour from me, probably a little more, hour 10 maybe. But he does live next to a brewery that I really like, which would be kind of a bonus point. You know, and nothing on his profile about politics, but like he has a dog, no kids, taller than me, you know, whatever. And he seemed nice when we were talking, seemed normal. I would say this is my first date, my first date in 3 years, or like, well, I don't know. When did I first go out? At least 2.5 years. And I was a little rusty. I would give him an A+ on his dating skills. He did everything right. He was a great conversationalist. He asked me a lot of questions. He had some stories he talked to. There was like a equal amount of talking. There were a few times when the conversation lulled, and because like I'm rusty, I was like, oh crap, what should I ask him next? But he was like right there with a question for me. You know, very polite, but like not dorky. Like he was cool. And one thing that I really appreciated is he asked me, like, I think he had asked me, like, what, you know, have you been to any good concerts lately? And I was telling him about the Something Corporate concert. And I mentioned that, like, they had just reunited last year. And actually, they live streamed their first show. And I had streamed it from my dad's hospital room the night that we found out he had cancer. And it was crazy. And he didn't interrupt me right then, but he clocked that. And then later, like, he went back and was like, so how is your dad doing? And I really appreciated that. It meant that he was like actively listening to me, making note of some of the things I was saying, going back and asking about it. And we talked for about 3 hours, and I drank 3 beers each and then stayed drinking water for a while before we had to drive home. And yeah, he was really nice, but I have all my politics on my profile. He had nothing. He had asked me at one point, like, so what else are you into? And I did say I'm pretty into politics and just kind of left it out there. He didn't take that bait at all. At the end of the date, when we got up, and again, we had talked for 3 hours, so it was a good date. He put his hand on my back as we were walking out, and I had to tell myself, I'm like, this is normal. This is what people do. I will tell you this. I've said before on this channel, I'm demisexual, and nothing screams in my face more like you demisexual than online dating, because I am not normal, and I am just not the kind of person that's used to physical touch with someone so soon when I don't know them. But I know that most people are. I know I'm the weird one. Like, most of the time, if you go on a good date where you talk for 3 hours, you expect that you're going to kiss at the end of the date. That's how normal people are. But I'm just not like that, because I just don't feel physical attraction to someone until I like really know them. But I know that this is normal. And I was like, that was fine. He's got his hand on my back. That's fine. But as we're walking out, I'm like, he's going to expect a kiss now. Obviously, I knew it was coming. But he was very like, again, A+ dating skills. He didn't make me feel like nervous or anything, the way that like I went on this date one time and the guy at the end of the date put his body between me and my car door so I could not get to my car, and he was insisting that I kiss him and wouldn't move out of my way. That was horrible. This guy, he stood back, he walked me to my car, I opened the door, I put like my coat in my purse, and then he was standing back at the back bumper. But then I turned around to give him like a hug goodbye, but it was very, like he was very much positioning himself for the kiss. So I did kiss him just really quick, like, just really quick. And I was like, okay, that was what I was comfortable enough with that. But it was up to me, I didn't have to. Anyway, and then when I got home, he texted me to make sure that I had gotten home okay, and all of that. So it was a good date, but There are some things that make me nervous. Additionally, well, in addition to him living over an hour away, which just complicates things, some of his hobbies are things that I not too wild about. He's a car guy and that's cool, but he's got 5 cars. And I said, "Oh, you must have like a big garage." No, he's like, "No, I just have a 2-car garage. All the cars are just in the driveway." And they're kind of all like old cars. And he was telling me a story about his HOA and how they all got mad at him because his cars are like loud and wake everyone up in the morning when he starts them. And, he was like complaining about the HOA, but I'm thinking in my head, like, I would also be pissed. Like, Ian's car was really loud because he needed, like, his car was a piece of junk. And every morning when he started it up, I would just think, oh my God, my poor neighbor, this old retired lady who lives in my condo building, and her bedroom faces over the driveway, like my driveway. And I was like, he's got to be waking her up every morning. And I was just so embarrassed. Little things like that wouldn't matter if you were like in love with the person, but I'm just already seeing like we're not perfectly aligned, but he was like a good date. You know what I mean? But then he'd been texting me just about every day since we went out, and we'd been saying we want to go out again, but it's not looking like there's going to be a time for that before Thanksgiving. But the other day he texted me to let me know one of his cars broke down because they're all just a bunch of broken down cars, I guess. And, I said something like, you better, get it fixed now. I heard car parts are going to be one of the things that goes up in price the most when the Trump tariffs go into effect, which is true. I had just heard that day on the news. And he didn't take that bait. He just moved on and said something like, yeah, I'm glad it didn't break down on our date, something like that. So I asked my guy friends about it. I started with Robin. Now, Robin is very political and very far left. I am moderate to him. He is all the way past Bernie Sanders, past Hassan Piker. He's all the way over there on the left. And I was like, what do you think about the situation? And he immediately texted me back and goes, oh, he's MAGA. He's super conservative, obviously. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm thinking in my head, maybe he's just not political, or he's following that rule that, like, you're not supposed to talk about politics or religion on a date, that kind of thing, right? Which I think maybe is true if someone has not put those things on their profile, but if it's on there and you agree with them, you should mention it. But anyway, that was Robin's point. Basically, he goes, look, I'm on all the Reddit threads that tell men how to write their profiles, and they all say, if you're conservative, don't say it. Women don't like that, which I think should tell you something. But anyway, yeah, he's like, it says on there, avoid, if you want the most matches, the most chance, don't say anything about politics, don't talk about politics, and certainly don't put on your profile that you're conservative or right-leaning at all. And, he's like, if he hasn't said anything about it right away, I guarantee you he's conservative, right? Okay, so then I asked Pete, and Pete agreed. He's like, I think it's possible, like, that maybe the guy just wasn't into politics at all. But here's the thing. Pete just started a new job. So this was his anecdote. He's like, I walk into that new job. I'm not going to start talking about politics because I don't know what these other people that I'm working with, how they feel about things. He's like, but the other day we were waiting for a meeting to start and somebody said something about like something, I don't know what, let's just say it was the tariffs, right? Like something about like, yeah, these tariffs, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, as soon as one person said one little thing that hinted at a political stance, everybody in the room just jumps on that. And all of a sudden they're all talking politics, and because they were all in agreement, because he works with a bunch of liberals because he's got a job in Chicago now. So, that was how he found out everyone he's working with is liberal. And so it just, he's like, you were dropping those little nuggets, and the fact that he didn't like take that and jump on that, like if he was on your side, he would have. So my whole thing is I'm like, well, I'm going to ask him. I'm just going to ask him at this point because I don't want to waste any more time. I don't want to waste his time. He's a nice guy. If we don't agree on politics, that's okay. He's still a nice dude. Maybe he's going to be better for someone else. He lived kind of too far away anyway. But I feel like, what do I have to lose by just asking? But now I don't know how to approach the subject. But I was waiting for him to text me, and he has not since I had this conversation with Robin and Pete yesterday. If he texts me again, I'll probably just have to bring it up and be like, so, you know my politics, what are yours? Or I feel awkward just saying it out like that, but what if I got to lose? Now, the reason I think that Robin and Pete are right and that this guy probably has different leanings than me and that's why he hasn't brought it up is that because I do have my politics on my profile, just about every other guy who's said anything to me on the app has opened with politics. Like, they are not avoiding the subject. If they agree with me, they're saying it straight out. I have gotten at least 4 or 5 messages from people that their opening line is like, I voted for Kamala, or I'm totally pro women's rights. I'm on the left, whatever. Like, they're opening, I agree with you politically. Like, they're opening with that. So I think if you agree with me, my profile has made it pretty clear that you should just say that. um, there's more stories. So there's also this other guy that I started talking to who was agrees with me politically. I knew that right away. We talked about politics. We're cracking jokes about politics, talking about the cabinet picks, some Matt Gaetz jokes, all of that, right? I don't know that we have too much else in common. He doesn't have kids. He lives maybe 50 minutes away. It's a little less than the other guy, still kind of far away. Let's just call it an hour. And we had moved from talking on the app for a week to just yesterday texting. And I texted him for like about 45 minutes straight. And then, so we're going back and forth. He seems okay. Like, I'm still trying to get a feel for it. He was really into the whole personality test thing. So he had me take the personality test, which I've taken before, but he wanted to know, am I an INTJ, whatever, this, that. And he seemed to know what they all meant and knew what his friends' personalities were. So he was like a little too intense, but I'm like, okay, well, whatever. Some people are into astrology. Some people are into that kind of thing, I guess, whatever. I took the test and I told him what I was. He's a gamer, which doesn't totally bother me straight off, but I think he's kind of nerdy, but like that can be good, right? Okay, no big deal. But then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to meet a friend for a beer, so I'll catch you later. And he was like, yeah, if you want to text me when you get back, I'm always up pretty late because of my mid-shift schedule. And I was like, oh, what do you mean? What's your schedule? And he told me he works every weekday till 7:30, and on Saturdays he works until 6:30. And he lives an hour away. I feel like that's it. Like, I can't, that's not going to work. I mean, I just don't see how that could work, right? Because we're never going to meet up on a weeknight, because I'm not going to meet up with him at like 8 p.m. when he lives an hour away. And honestly, I'm looking for someone to go on adventures and trips with. I'm looking for someone to go out on the weekend. You know what I mean? Like, I want to go away for the weekend. So dating someone who works on Saturdays, especially they work all the way till 6:30 on Saturdays, and it's the distance thing too. Maybe if someone was in town and they had that kind of schedule, it could work. But like, I just don't see the logistics working. These are all things that are not like, if everything else was great and perfect about the person, like, okay, let's work around the schedule. But like, I don't know. Then I've got these guys on here that, the conversation's just not conversating. You know how it is. If you've been on online dating, you know how it is. Whether you're a man or a woman, this is not a gender thing. I think we all experience the, hey, what's up? Not much, you? How was your weekend? Mine was good. I went out with a friend. What did you do? Yeah, I watched a movie. Yeah, it's just like, really, you're not getting into anything like deep or good, or it's just kind of like, it's just not picking up momentum. There's this one guy on here. He didn't have very much on his profile at all, but he messaged me first, and I was like, okay, he's local, so let me try to dig into this. He had one picture of him in a beekeeper suit, so I was just like, oh, so you're a beekeeper? And he's like, well, not anymore. I used to be. I was like, oh, I'm like, he didn't even ask me a question back, right? So I'm like, oh, did you get stung a lot? Blah, blah. Yeah, I got stung all the time. And I feel like there were like 5 messages in a row where I was asking him stuff, but he never responded with a question. So I was like, okay, like, why did you even message me? The conversation just dies then. Let's see. And I've got some good conversations about like dogs and concerts, and music and cocktails. But then I've got this one guy who messaged me today, just goes, how have you been? And I was like, do I know this person? Because that just sounds like something you ask someone you've talked to before. How have you been? Maybe not. It's weird. It's a weird opener. But look, I got this one today. Okay. I just got this message before I started filming this video. This is the kind of message that I would get when I was on Match because of all the things that I could include on my profile. This is, if I have sounded throughout this whole video like I am just being really negative and I am like nixing people when I shouldn't be, or that I'm being judgy or anything like that, fine. But it's because this is the kind of message that I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for. I'm not saying that any of the messages that I've received from any of these people are bad. Even the guy that I went out with, he'll be great for someone. Gamer guy with the bad schedule will be great for someone. But like, this is the kind of message I'm looking for. This is the opening line that this guy just sent me. Reasons we should talk. First, I didn't vote for Trump. Second, I consider myself intellectual. I love Neil deGrasse Tyson, Carl Sagan, blah, blah, blah. 3, I am one of the few men who can make you feel short. And 4, my dog is the world, and I can tell you greatly appreciate dogs as well. This is the kind of message that's going to win me over. And these people are out there. I just, you know, you got to find them. So I'm not feeling discouraged yet. It's only been a week. I've gone on one pretty good date. Even if it doesn't go anywhere, it was a good date. I've had about 3 or 4 like good conversations. I've had a bunch of bad conversations, and some tall guy is messaging me now, and we seem to have a lot in common. So you know what I mean? It's going how it's going. And I guess that's it. I guess that's the update. A lot of people are kind of, it's a weird time right now because it's Thanksgiving this week. So it's like, I'm probably not going to be going on any more dates before the holiday. I've got some work stuff going on at the beginning of next week, but then after that, I don't know, we'll see. So anyway, I'm trying to think, is there anything else? I think that's basically it, but expect more stories because I feel like, you know, I mean, the thing about online dating is you accumulate stories. So stay tuned, I guess. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye. I do want to read you some of my favorites. This guy says, I'm a hopeless romantic looking for my partner in crime. I enjoy walking my dogs, being a foodie, live music, and hot sex. This one made me laugh. He says a little bit about himself. He's like, I have a daughter, blah, blah, blah. Don't waste my time and I won't waste yours. You all sound like you've been through a lot. And I was like, oh man, I want to see the profiles he's seeing. No drama, no BS, no kids, never married. I think it's fine if you're in your 40s and you've never been married, but I do think it's weird to brag about it because it's almost like when you're in your 40s, it's like not bad to have been married. Like most of us have been married. This one was funny. He says, I'm single because I hate people, but I want to find one person who I don't hate, who also hates people but doesn't hate me. That was funny. This guy just says, please, for the love of God, do not ask me what I am looking for, deep ass questions, or spout off the same mundane questions that make it feel like an interview process. Just be effing normal. So he doesn't want to be asked what he's looking for. He doesn't want deep questions, but he also doesn't want the mundane questions. This guy, I don't think he wants to be talked to. This guy's profile just starts with 97.8% of men on here are shorter than 5'5" and F-boys. This guy says, third time's a charm. Pineapple's my jam. Does that mean he's a swinger? Like pineapples are a swinger thing, I think. And I have a mutual friend with him and it's my boss. So I don't think I'm going to ask her. I'm trying this one is capitalized, more time. If there is any all capital drama in your life, X me. I'm a good person with a big heart, but again with the drama, nah, in all caps. If you're looking for a yes man or a mama's boy, not me. I tell it like it is. 50% Italian, the other, guess. Don't make this more complicated than it is. You like a man? Good. One at a time, ladies. Stop playing popularity games in our 50s. It's ego-searching BS. Don't like my logic? Peace out then, he says. Peace out.